What's up guys, my name is Shane Werthner and this is an Athletistry ballet tutorial. I am super excited to be coming to you tonight to show you how to do a plie, how to make sure that you get better mobility in your ankles, how to work on your rotation for your hips, and then how to utilize that together with your arms and your head to create a perfect plie and make sure that your plies are preparing you for everything else that you have to do at the bar. So this is the first tutorial that we're going to be doing as we work through the bar process. We'll go all the way through everything at the bar and then we'll start to work on more complicated movements throughout the center. But let's head over to our bar and let's get started. So what we want to find when we're starting out with a plie is our rotation. It's going to be the most important thing to making sure that your plie stays safe and healthy and that you can keep your knees and ankles in good condition for your dancing. So what we want to do is start in a parallel position like this. You're making sure that your toes are facing straight to the front and that you're planting equal weight through your big toe, your little toe, and your heel. So we're creating a nice triangle through the ball of the foot. Now, what we're going to try and do here is as our feet are facing towards the front, we want to try and rotate our hips. So feeling a bit of a squeeze through the outside of the glute. So right through here, we're rotating the leg, but we're maintaining our parallel position. So our feet are pointing straight to the front, really rotating, and then just letting that come back. Do that a couple of times just so you can start to feel that rotation. And then what you're going to do is you're going to turn your heels out. So heels are coming slightly forward. Never going toes back. So this is really important. If your toes start to go back, we have a much higher possibility of rolling in and then causing pain for our ankles and our knees. So heels coming forward and then again, finding that same feeling in our glutes. Feeling that rotation and then coming a little bit more. And then coming a little bit more until we're finally in a first position. So first position doesn't have to be flat turned out, but we do need to be lifting up through the front of the foot to reduce the risk of pronation. And what that would look like if you were in a bad position here. So let me just come a little bit closer so that you can see. If I was in this position and I was rolling in, my ankles would be forward, rolling forward towards the front of inside of my foot. And then the back of my foot, my pinky toe, would be coming off of the ground. So that's really dangerous because as soon as you go to plie in that position, your knees are probably going to come forward and cause some problems. So what we want to do is we always want to bring our heels forward when we come into a turned out position. Okay, so the first thing we're trying to do in our plie is we're feeling that rotation that you just found in the parallel position, and the rotation is starting and then the knees will actually start to bend. So as you increase the rotation, rotate, your knees will start to bend, and then you can plie as deep as you can until the point where you feel like your heels are going to come off the ground, and then you stretch back up. So that's your demi plie. That's just from the hips down though. Okay, so there's a whole process that we have to develop here with the upper body. All right. So before we do anything, as far as the coordination is concerned, just take your second position. Arms are going to come into second position here. So in order to find this, the best way to do this is to bend your elbows so that you have a 90-degree angle at the elbow. You're going to extend the hands out to about 45 degrees, and then you're going to rotate your palms towards the front. You now have a nicely lifted elbow, your hands are in a nice relationship to your arms, and nothing is dropping, okay? So in this position, you're in your first position, you've got your nice second position arm, and we're going to allonger. So the arm is going to elongate, and then as we plie, we're going to follow our hand with our head. So our head is following that hand, coming all the way down, plie, coming all the way down to as deep as we can for this demi plie. So this is half of a grand plie, and then we're going to stretch up. So we can see our hand down here at the bottom, our head is looking towards it, and now we're going to demi plie again because we've only done the first half. So you're going to follow that hand up, looking into the palm. Your head is tilted towards the bar, looking into the palm, and now as you stretch your knees, your hand is going to open out towards second position again. Okay, so coming down again, so finding that second position, arm is going through allonger, following the hand down to our demi plie. Now as we stretch, the arm stays there. As we plie again, the arm comes to first position, and then we extend the arm out to second. So that's the coordination that we need to develop first before we do anything else. If that coordination isn't perfectly there, if you haven't figured out how to coordinate the head with the arm yet, go back, watch that again, and keep practicing because it's really important because that builds to our next part of the plie, which is the grand plie. So demi plie meaning half of the plie, or small plie, and then the grand plie is going to be the full big plie that we need to do. So when we do a grand plie, when we do it in first position, our heels will come off the ground. We do the heels coming off the ground in first position, in fourth position, and in fifth position. Also in third, if you are still working in third position, although traditionally we don't tend to work much in third position beyond the point where you might use it if you're not able to do a fifth position yet. So in this position, let's say we've done our 2 demi-pliés and we're back here to this position where our arm is in second. We're going to allongé again, and now watch as my arm comes down, we're going down, we're taking a little bit longer to get all the way down so that our arm hits the preparatory position at the base of the grand plie. Now here in this position, we want to make sure that our shoulders are directly over our hips, not leaning forward. As we come up, we push our heels down into the ground, and then our arm comes into first position in the demi-plie. And then as we stretch, exactly as we did in the demi-pliés before, our arm comes out to second position. So it really follows exactly the same. If you watch my arm in the 2 demi-pliés, it's almost nearly exactly the same coordination for the grand plie as we come through. Now, really important also as well, when we come into this grand plie, as we get to the bottom here, what will tend to happen is either people will sit down and not hold the position, or they'll come so high onto a demi-point that they're not actually pushing their heels down. So when we get to the base of the grand plie, you don't want to be all the way down. You want to still hold some pressure in your quadriceps, and then you're going to push your heels down first, which will cause the knees to stretch, and you can stretch up. So some of the more advanced things that we can look at with a plie is if you think about how we're utilizing this demi-plie. When you first start your plie, we're releasing into the plie, we're bending the knees, and then as we stretch up, we're really trying to pull everything together, almost if you think like you're about to jump, but we don't come off of the ground. So everything pulls together and squeezes at the top, and then we rotate again and release into the plie. Now, again, like I said with the grand plie, the coordination is going to be the same in all of the 5 positions. However, when we do a grand plie in second position, we don't go too wide, as well as our heels don't come off the ground. So if I'm in a second position, I want to make sure that I have about a foot's width distance. Now this will depend on your leg and your feet, but you don't want to go all the way out here because it becomes very easy to do the grand plie, and then we're not really building the mobility in our ankles. So if you go about a foot's width apart and you start to plie, now we're trying to get as deep as we can into that grand plie. You might find initially when you try to do that, that your hips start to go back. Really fight against that process. And if you do need to challenge that a little bit or you need to work on that, you can always go up against a wall and put the bar in front of you and try not to touch your backside to the wall, because that will help you to feel that upright position. Okay? Now, just looking forward a little bit into some of the things that you will be learning in ballet, and even for those who are a little bit more practiced or who have been doing ballet for a long time, what will tend to happen as you get more comfortable with your pliés is you'll start to get a little bit more fluid and things will start to develop and you'll start moving your body a lot more. Be very careful in practicing and getting, if your body starts to go forward, or even if your elbow or your shoulder starts to roll forward this way in the port de bras, because what's going to happen is that will translate later to other movements, and then you're going to continue to do those things. For example, if you were to do a plie into a pirouette and you start to go this way, like you would in your grand plie, that's going to cause problems. If your arm is way out here, it's also going to cause a lack of posture and a lack of stability in your movements. So plie is really important because it's like the building block, it's the starting point for everything else that we do in ballet. Now, I did want to give you a couple of exercises that you can utilize to work on that mobility in your ankles. So I'm just going to grab a yoga block here. And what you can do is you can take this yoga block and place it against the wall like this. And then you're going to just flex your toes against the yoga block. And then you're going to try and get your knee to the wall. So just say 5 to 10 reps, just working on that range of motion, not really holding in the position, just working forward and back. That will help to stretch out the soleus and then allow for a better glide of the Achilles tendon as you're going into that plie. Other things you can do are strengthening the anterior tibialis. So that's a muscle that runs along the front of the shin here. We need to have a lot of strength in that muscle as we go into that depth, because that's going to support the knee. It's also going to help with landings, which is a big part of why we do the plie. So if you just come over to the wall and you step your feet out, so you're getting a good stretch through the front of your ankles into plantar flexion, so your toes are like they're going to start pointing. And then what you do is you flex, you dorsiflex, you flex your toes up towards the ceiling and then back down, up towards the ceiling and back down. And you continue to do that for 20 to 25 reps until you've got a nice burn through the front of the shins. That's going to help to strengthen that muscle. It's going to protect you against shin splints, and it's also going to make sure that you have a deeper plie. It's going to help you to develop that depth. Something else that we can work on is some rotational stretches. So one thing that you can do is bring your foot up onto the bar like this, so that your knee is opening out to the side. Your standing leg is going to be parallel, and then you can bend forward towards your foot and then come back up. Bend forward towards the foot and then come back up. So there we're working on stretching out the piriformis and some of the deep rotators, so that we can make sure that when we get into this plie, there's nothing that's holding us back from being able to rotate and open up those knees. Now, guys, this is a movement that takes years and years of practice. Even though it seems like it's very simple, don't expect it to come immediately. I'm sure that there are going to be questions, so definitely put those into the comments, and make sure that you guys subscribe and come back so that you can get more of our tutorials as we go through the bar and then into the more complex movements in the center. Hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I'll see you at the next one.